All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our deep dive today. Today, we are talking all about 10 simple steps to get started on Practice Better. My name is Brittany Andrusian. I'm with Jen Miller. We're both business success coaches with Practice Better, and we're here to walk you through everything today. So welcome and thank you for being here. If this is your first deep dive, we always like to kind of drop a few housekeeping items to start us off. So for anyone who is here today, we love when you guys participate by engaging in the chat, asking questions. So for anyone that has questions throughout our demonstration today, please feel free to use the chat box and we will try our best to get to as many as possible, but usually there's quite a few. So there's a good chance we won't get to all of them today. But yeah, for anyone who has questions on today's topic, please feel free to share and we'll kind of pause throughout to answer some of those. This webinar is being recorded, so if you cannot stay the whole time, no problem at all. You can always come back and reference this at any time. So all of our previous deep dives are housed on YouTube, and we will send you guys out an email too with the replay. One other thing I wanted to mention is that we always have a survey to complete after our webinars because we like to ensure that we're taking your feedback and putting it into practice with future deep dives. So if you have feedback on today, we are so grateful for you to take that extra minute and complete that survey at the end today. So we will share a link with you. And as a thank you, we do have a little free offering to share with you today, which is a form that you can include in your practice. So when you fill out that survey, you will be given instructions on how to receive that form.
And I just put that link in the chat, just if anyone wants to grab it, if you think you might have to leave early, then you can just copy that over as well.
Perfect. Awesome. So that is in the chat from Jen. So let's dive into today's topic, 10 simple steps to get started on Practice Better. So yeah, if you are new to the platform and just trying to figure things out, or maybe you need a refresh, today is going to be super valuable for you. So we're taking it back to basics, and we want to really help set you up for success when you're starting to use Practice Better, or just working with the platform. So we want you to be able to take away a few kind of key things today, and that's how easy it is to get started on Practice Better and the essential steps that you need to take to get your practice up and running. And that way you're going to be able to save yourself so much time and really streamline your workflow. We also want you to start to kind of get an idea of how you can optimize your workflow within Practice Better. So we have a lot of features that play into this, like forms, your services, note templates, some basic automations that we'll be sharing with you today. And when it comes to setting up properly, it's just going to pave the way to have a great experience on the platform and help you avoid any of those unintentional but very frustrating errors, any kind of unintentional user errors that pop up just because there's a bit of a learning curve to getting started on the platform. So we're here to help you kind of get started with that today. And in turn, that's just going to lead to a better client experience. And, less time spent on those inefficiencies will be more time working with clients and paving the way to scale your business. So Jen and I are actually going to turn off our cameras, and Jen's going to share her screen so that we can see the platform and get started on our topic today.
Yeah, and while I'm doing that, I just wanted to put a question out to everyone to check in with you. So who is sort of new to the platform or new in business, and who is just sort of in need of a refresh? So let us know in the chat, say new or refresh, and that would be great. And then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
Awesome. So many people new to the platform. That's really exciting to see. Cool.
Amazing. All right. Okay, perfect. So Britt, can you see my screen okay there?
Yeah, that looks good. Awesome.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn my camera off. And there we go. Perfect.
All right. So we're going to get started with kind of one of the first things that you'll want to get started in your practice, which is setting up a form. And today we're going to be talking about an intake form, as that's kind of an essential form that most practitioners are using. So within Practice Better, you have the ability to create custom forms right within the platform. And you can do this from scratch or use one of the preloaded templates that we have available for you that can be used as is or completely customized. So the benefit to this feature is that clients can fill out these forms and submit the forms electronically from the convenience of their client portal, on their desktop computer, or on their phone, or in their email inbox. So no more printing out forms, scanning them back, all of that inefficient steps. You can say goodbye to that. So this is just going to help you save so much time as a practitioner and make it far more streamlined for the client as well. So yeah, no more manually reminding yourself to email things out to clients, have them download it, print it, fill it out by hand, scan it back to you, which can be really time consuming and inefficient. And what I found too is that even fillable PDFs can be challenging if the client doesn't have the right program to complete the form. So now instead, what you can do is build your forms right within Practice Better, allowing for a really efficient delivery, quicker turnaround time, super easy organization, and the ability to pull reports later on to gain insight from these forms. And I also find that this really leads to more thoroughly completed forms from your clients. So you can mark these certain questions as required, and then they can't skip over anything without being able to submit it. So as we know as practitioners, it's very common to require forms in advance of seeing a client so that you're informed with who they are and any kind of pertinent information about their health and desired outcomes. So before you start seeing clients, you need to be able to successfully onboard the client into your business. And we know that there's going to be many places eventually that you'll want to introduce forms into your practice. So that's why, as a thank you today, we're actually having that form to share with you that isn't a part of our standard templates. And that's that check-in form that you'll get from the survey. But for the sake of kind of working off a form that most of us will be using, let's take a look at setting up an intake form.
Yeah, perfect, Britt. Thanks for that little intro and forms. I agree. I love the ability to have these as fillable right online. It's so much easier than, the back and forth with the printing, the scanning, and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, so let's do it. So to get to your forms, you're going to go to My Practice Forms and Waivers. And I have lots of forms already set up here in my platform, but if we're creating a new form, I'm going to click the red fast action button here. And there's a couple options that I just want to touch on. And then like Britt said, we're going to show you how to create from a template. So the one at the top here, create form. So that's going to allow you to create a form from scratch if you want to build out your own custom form. Creating a waiver. So a waiver is similar to a form, but the only difference is that you'll automatically have a signature field, which is included when you create that. You can upload a form or worksheet. So this would just be if you actually do want to just have your client complete something, non-virtually through the platform. So you already have maybe a PDF form. You could upload that, but the client won't be able to complete that like inside of Practice Better, but that is an option for you. And then lastly is create from template. So let's start there. So in Practice Better, like Britt said, we have a list of form templates to get you started. So there's a handful here. I'm just going to scroll down. There's a couple more at the bottom there, but these are really a nice way to, you don't have to start from scratch. So it's going to save you a lot of time. When we're first getting started in, your practice, setting up in your business, an intake questionnaire is definitely something you're going to need to be able to collect that initial info from your client. So I'm just going to simply select that template. Now, this prompt is just letting me know that this template might contain placeholders that I will need to replace with my own information. So it's just a bit of a prompt to just let me know that I'll need to, even though it's a template, I might need to go through and update a few things. Okay, so we're creating that. All right, so this is our form builder. And because we've just created this from a template, as you can see, as I sort of scroll down here, it's already completely built out for us with sections like personal information, family history, things around medical history, maybe supplementation or medications, and so on. So this is already built out. But the great thing about a template is you can then go in and you can totally customize this. So you could tweak it, you could edit certain sections, you can delete them, you can really make this your own, but it just gives you this starting point so you don't have to start from scratch, which is really helpful when you're just getting started. As you can see on the right-hand side here, we've got this menu of form elements. And so if you did want to add to your template, then you could come in and you could add any form element. So you could add a text box, a short response, maybe it's a yes or no question, maybe it's a multiple choice grid question, a scale, and so on. So there's many different types of form elements that you can utilize within the form builder. But if you are just getting started and you just want this intake questionnaire, then you can keep it really simple by, just keeping it as is or just giving it a scroll through. Maybe you can take out certain sections that might not be relevant, but you really won't need to do much to it, which is really nice. And one reason why we absolutely love the form templates. You just sort of have that done for you there. So that's a little bit of insight into the form itself. So let's just take a peek at a couple questions here. Okay, so Tracy had asked, how can I add my signature to a form, not the signer feature, but to add my own signature? Yeah, so if you go to the signer option here, then you'll be able to choose who needs to sign. So if you want it to be yourself, then you can select yourself and then you can include the acknowledgement there. You can alternately put that to be your client and then it will request their signature. So that's how you would do that. That's a good question. And with forms, I'll just say that there is a lot you can do with them. There's a lot that can be built out and you can get really creative. And if it's something you do want to go deeper on, then we definitely have lots of resources that can take you on that deeper dive. But today we really just wanted to show you how simple and easy and quick it is to get started with something like a form from a template that's already done for you kind of thing. Okay. So let's save and exit out of this intake questionnaire here. And one other thing I did just want to mention while we're here is that you can, easily send this to a client just by going send to client. And another option is if you click the three dots, which is our more options button here, is that you can choose to share a link. And this is actually going to be a public form link for your form. So if you were to copy and paste this, that would take your client to a page to complete the form. So you could put that even in, an email, a website, newsletter, your social media, and so on, if it was like a public form you wanted someone to complete. But we're going to show you in the next few steps here how else you can really easily integrate forms into your workflow when you're getting started. Okay. Perfect. So let's take a peek here. Britt, is there any other questions we can touch on before we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a couple questions regarding how the information can go from a form into a client record. So that is something that is a little bit more outside of our scope today with our webinar, but that is called conditional or mapping. So something to definitely explore. When a client fills out information, you can have it basically be import into the client record. So that is another benefit to doing the forms right within Practice Better. There was a couple more questions that rolled in about uploading forms from certain institutions and certain schools. And yes, you can do that, but you lose the ability for the client to complete the form within the actual platform here and run reports on it, be able to import information into the client record, that kind of idea. But then it is a possibility. And then we did have a couple ask about customizing with their own logos.
What was that, Britt? Customizing forms?
Yeah, so with a plan type, if they're able to input their own colors for their brand and their logos.
Yeah. So yeah, depending on which plan you're on. So if you're on the Pro or Plus plan, then you have more of those customization and branding options. So it's just dependent on your plan type for that.
Awesome. I think that's kind of all the questions on forms for now. So we can move on to chatting about services if we're all ready, Jen.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So your services are what you offer to your clients and how you will work with them. So this may vary depending on your designation and your scope of practice. So Practice Better is home to all different kinds of health and wellness professionals. And services can be set up for individuals or groups. So depending on who you're working with and what you offer, maybe you're working with clients one-on-one, but you also intend to do some group services. You can set both of those up individually. And by setting up services, you'll in turn have a calendar later on that allows you to know exactly what you'll be working on at any given time. So you can get really specific with the different services as you create them and think of it kind of as a form of organization in your practice. And you're also setting the stage for the type of experience your client will have. So services set up well will allow the client to feel very clear and confident about what they're purchasing and booking. So as a practitioner, you have the opportunity to use the setup of your service as a way to really set expectations with your clients.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's take a peek at how we can actually set up your services. So I just navigated to my practice, my services. And the first thing you're going to want to do is hit the red fast action, and we're going to go in and add a service. Okay. So this prompt is going to guide us if we want to choose a one-on-one service or a group service. In this case, we're going to set up a one-on-one service, but just know that in Practice Better, you do have the ability to set up group services as well. So let's go in there. So for the purposes of this example, why don't we just set up an initial consultation, just so we can sort of follow that same form that we were setting up, which was the intake form, or sorry, the intake questionnaire. That's what we called it. So we'll add the title, and then these colors here, these are going to be associated with your calendar. And so this is really nice because then you want to choose a different color for each service, and that will be associated with how it shows up in your calendar, just allowing it to be a little bit easier to sort of view and organize all of your sessions. So let's choose that yellow color there. You can add a description to your service that will show up on the booking page so the client can see that description. You can add a duration. Let's say this is going to be a 60-minute initial consult. And then you can optionally add terms and conditions. So this is something that you would set up as a disclaimer separately. And then if you have those set up, you could add them there. So if you do have any sort of terms and conditions or disclaimers you do want the client to sign off on or accept right at the time of booking, then you could add those. Under payment options, one thing I really want to highlight here is just the ability to process your payments through Practice Better. And so this is really nice if you want to really streamline that process and you don't want to worry about taking payment in many different other ways or platforms. You can actually integrate a Square or Stripe account to Practice Better, and that will allow you to process your payments right at the time of booking. So let's say we're going to charge $150 for this service. We can put our fee there. We can also actually change the currency if that makes sense. And then we have a couple options around the booking page and how the fee is displayed. So I'll just open up that drop down so you can see there. So we can, just display the fee, but not have any payment required. We could hide the fee altogether. We could suggest the client pays at the time of booking or require them to pay. So it's up to you on how you want to take payment, but maybe we can choose suggest to pay at this time. And just scrolling down here under service availability. So this is another thing to note in Practice Better, that you can actually host your own telehealth sessions with clients through the online video chat option within your service. So for one-on-one sessions, you can use the built-in telehealth feature to do that right within the platform, which is really nice. If you offer your service by phone or in person, you can also select those options. And scrolling down here, you have a couple booking options. I'm not going to run through every single one, but a couple of things to note. This is a really nice option to restrict clients from booking. If you want to, let's say, at least give yourself maybe 48 hours so let's say 2 days notice before a booking comes in, so you're not getting any last minute bookings. That's a really nice setting to utilize. Another thing is the telehealth session. So this is something I already mentioned. If you are using that feature to host video calls with your clients, And you can choose if you want to use the built-in Practice Better telehealth, or if you want to use Zoom, which is actually another integration we have. If you integrate your Zoom account, then you could also utilize that. Okay, so just scrolling down here, another thing I wanted to highlight under booking options. So this is where you're going to choose if you want the client to be able to request sessions for this service themselves on your public booking link, or if you want to keep that private and then you can manually book people yourself only. So in most cases, you'll want your clients to be able to, request those sessions on their end, so we can keep that public. Notification options, this is really wonderful in that you're able to actually customize the notifications that go out to the client for the service. So let's say, the booking confirmation notification, maybe you want to customize that. So we can click on that and we can then go in and we can totally, customize the subject, the title, and the body of the message. So regardless, there'll automatically be these confirmations and notifications going out to your clients. But if you wanted to give it that personal touch, you could go in and just write your own copy in here. Maybe there's something you want to let the client know about, in preparation for their session, or you just want to give it that personal flair. Whatever it is, you can go in and you can make those changes. Okay. Great. All right. So then one last thing I wanted to highlight within setting up your service under advanced options, just scrolling down here, is booking page forms. So the first step that we just went over is setting up your first intake questionnaire form. And maybe you actually want the client to complete that information, that form, right at the time of booking. So you can actually attach that form, add that form to your service by clicking add form. And then we've actually got our intake questionnaire ready to go right here. And then that will require the client to complete that form right at the time of booking. So, depending how long that form is or what information you might be wanting to collect, that can be a nice option, just in that it's not an additional step for the client. They'll just be completing that right at the time of booking. So that option is available for you. Okay. Wonderful. Britt, let me know if there's any questions to address right now.
Yeah, so one thing I just want to say, there's a lot of questions rolling in. So just as a reminder for everyone, we try our best to get to as many questions as possible, but we might not be able to answer everyone's. But a couple that we can address right now, Jen, is we have some questions regarding the differences between services, packages, and programs. So if we could just kind of highlight the difference and how we kind of define them within Practice Better.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. So services are going to be your individual offerings. So right now we're in a service. This is our initial consultation, but it could also be something like a follow-up session, maybe a group coaching session. So it's a single offering. A package is the ability to bundle multiple services, packages, or multiple services and programs together in one package. And so that allows you to just sell the single package that includes multiple offerings to just really streamline that process. And then a program is going to be basically a group program or a course allowing you to run your group services. It also allows you to run things like membership programs and, educational type courses, resource libraries, or, kind of the typical real-time group program.
Yeah, that's great. And then a couple questions came in regarding the difference between using Zoom as your telehealth platform versus the built-in Practice Better telehealth feature. So really, when it comes to the two, both have the ability of being HIPAA compliant. So Practice Better by default is. Zoom will allow you the option to be. So that's kind of an additional thing that you'll purchase directly through Zoom with your Zoom account. Whereas Practice Better, it is as is. Zoom will allow you to start working with groups. So if you intend to work with more than one client at once, you'll want to keep that in mind, that Zoom will offer you that functionality. Otherwise, both of them, you can start sessions directly in the platform. Clients can start them from their desktop computer or through the Practice Better app on their smartphones, and you can have a virtual session. So it really depends on kind of what you are planning to do with clients, whether you choose to work one-on-one, whether you want to kind of keep overhead costs low and go with the built-in Practice Better telehealth feature. And if you choose to use Zoom, you can designate your video or virtual sessions to default to Zoom. So that is an option for you.
And one other thing I'll mention is if you are someone who wants to record your session for your client, or maybe it's a group session, you will need to use Zoom. So the ability to record is just available on Zoom. So even if it were just a one-on-one session that typically you could use telehealth for, you maybe if you want to record that, then you would need to use Zoom. So I just wanted to mention that too.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're setting up your services, Jen, do you think you can just show if how people will select between using the Practice Better virtual telehealth feature versus Zoom, and where they can find which platform it'll go to?
Yeah. So under booking options here, this was this setting that we just looked at a bit earlier. So this drop down here, right now I have my default as Zoom, but we can also say use Practice Better, and then that's going to default to telehealth. But when we're setting up our availability for the session, which I'm going to show you in a moment, then you can also choose at that stage as well. So yeah, there's a couple places which you can choose.
Wonderful. Okay, I think we can kind of move on to our next session, which is all about adding availability. So as you set up your Practice Better account, you get to determine when you're available to meet with your clients. So by setting up your availability, this dictates when clients will be able to book sessions with you. They won't be able to book a session outside of your availability window unless, say, you manually schedule it or approve that. So Practice Better allows you to get really granular with the setup of your availability, allowing you not only to determine the hours each day you'd like to open up on your calendar, but also what services you want to offer during these times and the location of those services as well. So maybe, for example, you're working in a clinic setting 2 days a week and working home virtually the others. So you can set up your availability to reflect this. And maybe there are certain services you offer that you want to restrict to take place virtually or on the phone only, and others that you require your client's physical presence. So you can get really detailed with how you set up your services to make sure that they're kind of properly reflecting what you can offer. So all of this is going to be kind of shown by Jen here, who's going to run us through how to set up our availability.
Yeah, thanks, Britt. So how I navigated to this page was I just went to my schedule, my availability, and that brought me here. So to set up a new availability slot, you can optionally just actually click right onto your calendar, and this is going to start the process of setting this up. So the first step is to choose if we want to set up availability for a one-on-one service or a group service. And let's start with one-on-one because that is the service that we just set up, the initial consultation. So first of all, we're able to choose our time zone. This is going to default to the time zone we've set up under our account settings. And then we're going to go in and choose all of the requirements of this availability slot. So let's say that we, in this example, want to set up an availability slot for our initial consultation from 9 to 5 on Monday and Wednesday, and we want that to recur every week. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we'll choose the start time. We'll choose 9 a.m., the end time to be, in this case, 5 p.m. And then we can choose which date we want this availability to begin. So we just have, let's just choose today's date there. And then we do want this to recur. So we, in this case, as a practitioner, we're going to have that same availability ongoing every week. So we'll have that recur. You can optionally add an end date if you only want this availability slot to run from a certain start and end date. And then we can choose how often we want this to repeat. So in this case, we want to have this repeat every week, but we could have it repeat daily or monthly, and then the duration here. And then this next setting is going to allow us to choose the days of the week. In this case, let's do Monday and Wednesdays for that slot. So what I've set up so far, just to recap, is a availability slot that is going to repeat every week on Monday and Wednesday from 9 to 5 p.m. Okay. And the next section here is service availability. So this is essential that we choose which services we want to be available to book during this slot that we just set up. So in this case, let's just go with that initial consultation service that we just set up. We'll just toggle that on. And then we have a couple additional settings once we choose the service. So we can choose to restrict the service method. So let's say during Monday and Wednesday, during this slot, we only want to offer this by online video chat. Then we can deselect those other options to get a little more detailed. And then as Britt was mentioning, we can also restrict by location, by office location. And a little bit later, we're going to show you how to set up any office locations. But in this case, I have 2 set up. So if we want to, let's say, only offer these at the wellness clinic, then we could select that as an option. Okay, so you can toggle on multiple services within these availability windows. In this case, let's just leave it simply at the initial consultation, as that's the one we just set up for ourselves. Okay, so let's go save. Wonderful. And so this availability slot was beginning today. So we see it today showing up here. But if I just navigate to next week, you'll be able to see that we've got it on both Monday and Wednesday there. And so we could go in anytime just by clicking on it to edit that if we needed to. But that is all set up. So it's really simple. And now what that means is clients will be able to then book our initial consultation during this Monday and Wednesday 9 to 5 slot. They will not be able to book that service at any other time. Even if you have openings in your calendar, they'll only be able to book and they'll only be given options within these availability slots. Okay. All right. Perfect. Any questions that we can address, Britt?
So one specifically that I wanted to mention that I saw. So someone was mentioning that they've had an appointment booked and they're still seeing that time show in their availability. So what I wanted to highlight here is that your availability is always going to stay kind of as you've set it. If you want to see what your actual kind of bookings are versus your availability, you'd actually want to go to My Practice and down to My Calendar. And that's actually going to show you the bookings that have been, like the time slots that have been taken up within your overall availability. So I recommend always having a test client. So if you are kind of navigating some of this for the first time and you're curious about how your calendar and booking works when you have a session come up, and if someone can also sneak into that time, hop onto your test client account, go through the motions of trying to book that service, and you'll see that that time slot is just not available. But yeah, when you're looking at your actual availability on any given day of what's truly available versus just what you've set, you want to go to My Calendar instead. All right. Lots of great conversation happening in the chat. I'm just taking another look here. You don't want clients to book their appointments. You'd like to do that. That's no problem. When you're setting up your actual services, you can restrict them so that clients are unable to book. And as the practitioner, you'll do that on your behalf, or their behalf rather. So no problem regarding that. That was a question from Andrea. Is there any others that you see right now, Jen, regarding the availability?
Yeah, there was one from Leslie that I did respond to in the chat, but I just thought I would call out as well, just asking if there is a limit on the number of services you can add, because I think she saw 4 services offered in this slot that I had here, but there isn't. That's just how many I had specifically in this one, but you could go in and toggle them all on if you wanted to. So there's no limit there. That's just how many I had set up in that example, but yeah, you could go in and select them all if you want to offer every single service that you have in that slot. Okay.
Wonderful. Okay, let's just see here. All right, so once you have your availability set up, we wanted to show you something that's kind of fun within Practice Better, one of my favorite features, which is automations. So Practice Better has plenty of opportunity that allow for more optimization of your workflow, and automations are definitely one of them. Maybe let us know in the chat who has introduced any automations into their workflow already, or if this is brand new to you. Let's just kind of get a feel for who's already using automations. All right, looks like most of what I'm seeing, they're new. Okay. All right, so automations are aptly named as they allow you to automate day-to-day tasks. And often these tasks are a necessary component of your workflow, but they may be repetitive and time-consuming. So what automations do is they can be introduced to help you kind of win back your time and dedicate it towards the work that feels most important and impactful to you and your business. And maybe that's time dedicated to your clients, maybe it's new content creation or business planning to help scale your practice. And there is a huge variety of options for automations and the way that you can use them. So we're going to walk you through two that are extremely helpful when you're first getting started on your platform that are really going to help kind of eliminate some of that manual work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, perfect. And it's awesome to see all of the interest in automations in the chat. Really happy that you all are keen to learn about this today. So yeah, as Britt said, we're going to show you two different automations that are really going to help you get started. So I don't have any set up right now, so I'm going to go and create my first automation. This is going to give me a list of all the available automations, but today we're going to first focus on this one here, which is confirming one-on-one booking requests. Now, the reason why this is a helpful automation is that if you don't set this up, then when new booking requests come in from your clients, you'll have to manually approve those. Now, some practitioners prefer that. They like to be able to manually approve it, to review it first and then approve it. But if you just want all booking requests to be automatically confirmed and approved, then you could set up this automation, and that's going to just really save you that manual step and just streamline that process and make sure you don't miss any requests that just go unconfirmed or anything like that. It'll just really, really save you that headache. Okay. So we're going to set this one up. So we're going to set a name for the automation. This is just something for your own internal use. So let's set up this automation to confirm automatically our initial consultation, because that's the one we were working with throughout our demo here. Okay, so confirm initial consultation. And then the next step is to choose which service you want this automation to trigger. You can select multiple if you wanted, but in this case, we're going to just focus on that initial consult. So I'm going to select that. Then we've got a couple setting options here. So this is asking us if we want to auto confirm rescheduled sessions. So let's say, someone books a session with you, it's the, initial booking. So it gets confirmed automatically with this automation, but maybe they need to reschedule it. If you want that rescheduled session to be auto confirmed as well, you'll want to select that. But if you don't, you can take that off. Next is limit which service methods should be auto confirmed. And so if you want to get a little more granular, let's say that you only want, your services that are done by phone to be auto confirmed, for example, just depending how granular you want to get with that. But in this case, let's just leave that off. You also have the option to limit the in-person locations, which should be auto-confirmed. So again, if you are working with multiple in-person locations, then you can also select if you want only a specific office location to be auto-confirmed. And then this last one here is give clients access to the client portal. So this is just sort of depend on which service that you have, if you want the client to automatically get access to the client portal as part of this automation. And we definitely recommend this if you do with the initial consultation and working with your client in that capacity. You probably want them to have access to the client portal so they can then have access to start their service. If it's a telehealth session, to access any resources that you have to share with them and so on. So you can just have that checked off and then they'll automatically be provided that access. The next two settings here are regarding the journals in Practice Better. So if you are going to be using food journal or lifestyle journal with your client, then you may want to automatically give them access to those resources right at the time of booking. And then the last one here is to optionally mark sessions confirmed on behalf of your clients. So if you want the client to have to confirm the session themselves, then you want to uncheck that. But if you want to just auto confirm that on behalf of the client, then you would check that off. You could also optionally add a note to client here. All right, and then our final section at the bottom is regarding client tags. Now, client tags, we'll talk a little bit more about throughout our session, but is a way to basically organize your clients by giving them like categories. So organizing them into categories using tags. So in this case, when we're confirming this initial consult booking, maybe we want to automatically add a tag to any of those clients that book that session called new client. So that's the example I'm going to use in this case. We're going to have it add a tag, and then we've already set up that tag new clients. And so I can just select that there and go done. And that means, again, that as soon as the client books, they'll be automatically confirmed for the session, and they'll be given this tag below here. Okay. All right. So that is our first example. I'm going to go create here. And that is all set up. So you can go in anytime if you need to edit that automation. You can also disable it for a period of time, and if you don't want to actually delete it. So that's also an option too. Perfect. Okay, before I go into the next automation, Britt, is there any questions we should get to?
I'm not seeing too many, just one question regarding the tag option. So when Jen was setting up the tag to be associated with clients that are coming in new to her practice, she's first created that tag in her practice. So from the My Clients page, it's very easy to set up tags, and tags are a way of organizing your clients. So you can label them exactly how you'd like them. So Jen used the example of new, but you could label them as, say, you know, your 2021 clients. Maybe they're a part of a certain group or a certain focus for you. So you'll just have to first set up your tags. And no, clients do not see their tags. That's just for internal reference and organization.
Yeah, good call. Okay, great. Okay, so that's the first automation. And then we're going to show you one more here just to give another example of a really simple automation you can set up that can save you a lot of time. So we're going to click the red fast action button to get, again, that list of automations to choose from. And the one we're going to do next is send forms after a booking is confirmed. So we've talked a little bit about forms already, but let's say that you have your initial consultation form, and we showed you how to attach that as a booking page form, but maybe you actually want to send that to the client maybe 3 days before the session instead. So maybe you don't want them to have to do that right at the point of booking. Maybe it's too long. So you think it's just easier to send it before the session itself. So you could set up an automation that will automatically send that form out for you, which is really, really nice. Another example, which I'm going to use in this case when setting this automation up, is maybe you have a check-in form that you want to be sent to your client a few days before a follow-up session. So the check-in form is actually something that we're giving away as our free thank you for completing our feedback survey at the end. So I'm going to use that in this example. So we can put our automation name in. So let's say send check-in form, let's say 3 days before follow-up session. So this, again, this name is just for your own use. The client won't see that, but just so you know how to differentiate from your automations. Then again, we're going to go in and choose the session. So in this case, we want the follow-up session to prompt this automation. And then we're going to, choose when we want to send those forms. So we can optionally have those be sent immediately. Or, excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip of water here. Or we can have the forms sent before or after the session date. So this is really nice because, following this example, let's say that we want that check-in form to be sent maybe 3 days before the follow-up session. So we can set that up there. this option to allow clients to complete the form multiple times. So this is important if it's a form that they may be completing over and over again. So if this automation is going to be firing likely more than once for a client, so maybe they're going to have multiple follow-up sessions, then you'll want to select this option to make sure that they can complete that check-in form multiple times when that automation is fired. And then we're going to scroll down and choose the form itself. So I'm just going to scroll down. I have lots set up here, but yeah, so we'll choose that check-in form right here. And then as we scroll to the bottom here, you can add any additional notes for your client as well. And then we're going to go ahead and create that automation. So that is now set up here. And again, you can go in and edit or delete or pause that at any time, but that is all set up. So what's going to happen is anytime your client has a follow-up session coming up, 3 days before that, they'll automatically be sent this check-in form to complete. And it's totally done in the background. You don't have to worry about it. It's sort of this set it and forget it feature in Practice Better, which we absolutely love.
Yeah, what I love about automations is that Jen just showed you an example of 2, but we have so many to choose from. And within each of those options, when Jen uses the red fast action button to kind of pull up the list of available automations, there is endless ways that you can use each of those automations. And some of the ways that you'll use automations in the future as you find your footing on the platform is you'll start to identify those places in your practice where you're doing the same kind of repetitive work or the things that are kind of happening with every client that you want to automate. And then it's good to kind of look through that list to see how you can make that happen. And hopefully there's a possibility there. But let's just take a look for any questions in the chat here. All right. Are automations included in the Sprout plan? So we have, as many of you are likely familiar, various different plan types to use, and different plan types will have different features associated with them. So with the automations specifically, I'm just taking a look here.
Yeah, so some of them will be available on the Sprout plan. So what you can do is go and take a look at your account if you're signed up for a Sprout plan, and you'll be able to see there which are available to you. But yes, you can play around with automations on the Sprout plan to sort of get a sense of what they can do for you.
Yeah. All right.
One thing I was just going to actually mention, Britt, because I'm just looking at our time. I think we probably will go over a little bit of the hour. So just to give everyone a heads up now, but just to remind you that this is recorded. And so you can come back to it anytime if you're not able to stay with us the whole time. Okay.
All right. Let's go on to the next topic here, which is test driving your booking link from the client's view. So we want to make sure as you're going through all the necessary steps to get your practice up and running in Practice Better, that you have set up your services and availability correctly. So you can test to ensure that everything has been done as it should be. So with many of the features on the platform, one kind of side note that I wanted to add in here is there's lots of opportunities to preview your work and see your setup just to make sure that everything is working correctly. And this is just a nice step to ensure that all runs smoothly and avoid any kind of frustrating mishaps for you or your clients. So Jen is just kind of going to show us how we can test this booking link.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is, just because I know I'm going to be opening another window or tab, I'm just going to quickly share my screen in a better way because I think you might not be able to see it. So I'm just going to quickly stop sharing and reshare just to make sure that this is going to be viewable in the right way for you all here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And hopefully this will work okay for us. So the first way to actually test drive your booking link from the client's view is you can take a look at your public booking page for a single service. So that's the first way. So for each of your services, they're going to have their own public booking page. So let's go to this initial consultation that we set up earlier. We're going to click the 3 dots, which is our more options button here. And we're going to go share link. And this is going to, again, show a public booking link for this service. So I'm just going to go visit page, but you could copy this and put this anywhere if you want your client to be able to book that service. Maybe you put it in an email, on your website, in a newsletter, on social media. You can even create a shorter link automatically if you want to put that on social media, because sometimes the character count is a lot lower and you want it to be a little more clean looking if you can't hide it like behind a button or something. So that's an option for you. Okay, so let's go visit page. And Britt, just let me know if you're seeing this second tab.
Yes, looks good.
Okay, good. Okay, perfect. Wanted to make sure that we were able to see it. All right. So what I've done is just opened up the booking page for this single service for initial consult. So this is what it would look like to the client. The first step for them is to choose how they want to conduct the session, because when we were creating the session, we chose all three options. So that's going to give the client the option to choose. Let's say they want to do it by video. And then we're going to see the calendar populated here with the available time slots. Now, again, based on your availability, that's what's going to show up here within the calendar. So the only slots that are going to show up are those that were included in our availability. So we can go choose a time slot there, and then the client's going to continue on the booking process by entering all their information. So that's as simple as it is. If you've attached, say, a booking page form like we looked at earlier, that would be at the next step for the client to complete that. But if not, then they would just go next, and then they can move through the payment options if you have required them to pay it at the time of booking. Okay. Great. So that's the first option. And then the second option is to actually share your public booking page for all of your public services, packages, or programs. So I'm just going to head to settings, which is this little gear icon here, and go to share my link. Okay. So each practitioner, you'll automatically have a default booking page. So that's this link right here. So I'll show you that in a moment, but I just also want to say that you can also create custom booking pages by just going add page. So if you want to have a little more control over the order that your services are displayed, which services, packages, or programs are displayed, then you can create your own custom page. But for this, we're just going to use the public bookings page. So I actually already have that link open on my other screen. So I'm just going to pop that over here. And can you see that okay, Britt?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, perfect. So this is our default booking page. So again, this is just going to give basically a list of all of the public packages, services, programs that we have set up. So as long as they're listed as public, when we set that service up, they're going to show up here. And it's just sort of a long list of all of those offerings. Again, if you want to have a little more control over which order these display in, you can also add like headers and things like that. Then you can also create your own custom page, but this default booking page will always be available for you to utilize. Okay. So those are the two booking pages that I wanted to show you, just so you can get a sense on what that looks like on the client's side. All right, any questions?
I saw one question about whether they can link that to their social media like Facebook. So some of the links that Jen shared can be input essentially anywhere that you can share a link. So some ideas would be like an email newsletter, your social media accounts, like in your Facebook account or your Instagram bio or stories now, since everyone can share there, your Twitter, wherever you're using social media. Let's see, will we be going through protocols today? Not today, unfortunately. So this is just kind of some more basic steps to get started on the platform. But if that's a topic you'd like to see more of, when you complete the survey, you'll be able to refer to future topics you'd like us to touch on. So I'm just going to put this information in the chat here regarding our survey, since we are coming close to the hour, with a little bit of information there. So yeah, for anyone that has a topic idea or wants to see some other focuses for our deep dives, you'll have the ability to answer that in this survey. All right.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, are we good to move on, Jen?
Yeah, I think so. Just with time, I think let's move on here.
Perfect. Okay. So let's talk about setting up or taking a look rather at your recent activity page for any of your clients. So as you introduce clients into your practice, Practice Better will start to keep a client record of all of their activity. And as the practitioner, this allows you to have all the important information regarding your client in one easy to locate place, and essentially will help paint a really comprehensive picture of who your client is, their journey, and everything relevant to them. So from this page, you'll be able to see at a glance lots of important information, but also have quick, easy access to complete all the necessary actions that are pertinent to them. So the biggest takeaway to kind of note here is just the convenience of everything in one place. And that's kind of a running theme across the Practice Better platform, as we really want to simplify your workflow. So, no more digging around trying to remember where things are located and navigating to various platforms or trying to recall where certain information is being housed regarding a client. Everything's just nicely tucked into one place here.
Yeah, perfect. So, and Britt, I was just seeing a question about, just before I show this here, is there a Facebook group for our users? So maybe you can just copy over the link into the chat for the group while I'm doing this. But yeah, we have a private Facebook group for our paid members. So if you're on the starter plan and up, then you can have access to that private community to connect with each other, really, share ideas and share, any resources as well. All right, wonderful. So where I'm at right now, I just navigated to one of my clients' records. So I went to my clients and I'm at Mary Smith's client record. So this is what you're going to see on any of your clients when you first go into their record. And what we're talking about right now is the recent activity page. And so this is the first thing I want to highlight right here is this recent activity stream. And so this is awesome because this is basically a timeline of all the important events in your client's health journey with you, including like their bookings, any notes shared with them, maybe tasks, completed forms, and so on. You can see that I have a couple here. Another thing to mention is that you can also add custom activity notes. So if there's anything you want to just make a note of, maybe your clients chatted with you for a quick check-in and you want to make note of that. Maybe they have an allergy, you can note any custom notes. And then you can also pin those to the top of the recent activity stream. So they'll always stay at the top if you want that. Another nice thing about this recent activity log is that you can filter it. So let's say you're wanting to just see all activity related to your client's bookings specifically, you could click that. And then you can also further filter by date. So maybe we just want to see activity regarding bookings in the last month. So then we can set up those parameters and that's going to filter that out for us. So it just makes it really easy to get a quick glance at what's going on with our client. You'll also notice here this little email delivered sign here. And this is nice because any of the notifications that are going out to your clients, you'll always see the status of the email notification. So let's say that it failed or it was undeliverable for some reason, maybe their email address was entered incorrectly or something, you'll see that. So you'll always be able to tell and ensure that that notification was indeed delivered to that client. Okay. All right. So yeah, and then I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention here too is that if you come to an item that you want to get more info on, you can just simply click on it from the recent activity stream, and that's going to take you to, for this example, the session details for that session. So it's just a nice way to easily navigate within your client's information.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I just saw someone has to head out and they're glad that they can watch the replay. So just as a reminder, this is being recorded. So given that we are at the hour here, if you're unable to stay, no worries. We are running over time, but this will be sent out for you to catch up on or reference back to at any time. All right, let's chat about setting up your profile. So it's important for all your prospective and current clients to know who you are and what you do. So you can kind of think of this similar to the About Me section of your website. And this is your opportunity to share valuable information about who you are and what you offer in your business. So you can think of things such as your designation, your scope of work, maybe how you've chosen to niche or specialize. And you'll also be able to include important information about your business, such as where you're located and, your time zone. If you're working virtually, you might be seeing clients across various time zones. So having this information laid out in an easily read format will allow prospective clients to ensure that they're finding a practitioner that is the right fit for them and their needs. So we'll take a look at kind of setting that up now.
Yeah, wonderful, Britt. So how I got to this page is I just clicked on my practitioner name at the top right here, and I just went to edit profile. So that's where we are now. So we're just under the My Profile tab. So like Britt said, this is where you're going to enter all of your information about yourself as a practitioner. So you can enter your own photo. You can have, your name, title, designation, your email address, of course. This is where you set up your time zones. You'll want to make sure that that's your own time zone there. And then this biography section, you could keep this really simple. In this case, though, I've added a little more detail about myself as a practitioner. And I've also actually added some testimonials. So, that's definitely not required, but, it's nice if someone's going to your practitioner profile page, they'll be able to see that. And then it just gives them more insight into what it's like to work with you. So you have this, text section to add in any details you want. As we scroll down, you can add in your accreditations. So in this case, we've got the health coach designation as well as the heart math practitioner, but you can really add any sort of designation that you have there. And then lastly, in this section is social networks. And so this is really nice because these social networks are going to show up on your booking page as well as your practitioner profile page, which we'll look at in a moment. You can also add your blog URL if you do have a blog. All right, so I'm going to scroll up here. And the next thing that we're going to take a look at is the company profile. So we've set up your personal practitioner profile, and then we want to look at some details on your company. So you can add your company name. This is just another field, another area that you could update your email address if you needed to. If you have a business number that you want to appear on your Practice Better billing statements, you can put that here. You can input your website. You can also add a tagline. So this will also show up on your practitioner profile page. If there's something, kind of a catchy tagline you want to add there, then you can put that in. And then the next section here is your office location. So we talked about that earlier in a few different sections. And this is where you're actually going to add any office locations if that's relevant to you. So if you do work in person, and you have, different office locations, then you can add those here just to make sure that, you can select those for availability within your services. Okay, so let's save that. And then we'll take a little preview to see what that practitioner profile page looks like here. Okay, so again, this one I added quite a bit of detail in the bio section, so it's a little bit longer, but this is what it's going to look like to a client if they visit your practitioner profile page. They'll be able to see all of your details. There's your little tagline, links to your social accounts. And then as we scroll down here, your accreditations, and then your office location as well. The other thing I'll mention too is on the right-hand side, you can also have the link to your website and your blog if that's relevant. And then this Work With Me will take your client to your public booking page that we already looked at earlier, so they can book any services in with you. Okay, great. Let's see, any other questions on that, Britt?
Let me just take a look here. I'm not seeing anything specific to the client profile at this time. So let's move on to talk about third-party integrations. So for those of you that are new to third-party integrations, the integrations allow two platforms, so in this case, Practice Better and a variety of others, to speak to each other in a seamless way to enhance your experience on the platform. So there's a good chance with many of the available integrations of these popular platforms, you're already using them as a part of your day-to-day life. And that could be, professionally or even personal. So to increase the functionality of what Practice Better can do, we have a variety of options for you to choose from. And these systems are designed to speak to each other, and that just lends to a far more streamlined and efficient way of working. So, as a Practice Better team, we kind of recognize the needs for these platforms to work as effectively as possible, kind of finding a solution to keep everything working optimally in one place. Again, kind of that theme of keeping everything together in one place and minimizing the amount of different platforms they have to navigate between at any given time in the day.
All right, so I did just see one question I wanted to address, asking if we can stay at the end for more questions. So if there are additional questions, which I know, of course, there will be, there's been a lot we're covering today, so we haven't been able to get to everything. We have our customer support team who are really, really incredible, our CS team, so you can reach out to them anytime and they can support you. So help@practicebetter.io is their email, and I'm just putting that into the chat right now so that you can ensure that you get your questions answered. Okay, awesome. So how I got to the third-party integration section is just by navigating to the settings, the gear icon here, and then third-party integration. Now, I'm not going to go through in detail every single one of these, but I did want to highlight a few of the integrations that we really love. So with document management and sharing, you can link a Dropbox or a Google Drive account. That's going to allow you to actually import existing documents right from one of these cloud services into Practice Better, which is a real time saver. Google Calendar. So we talked a little bit about your calendar earlier with Availablity, but if you do use a Google Calendar, you can integrate that with Practice Better, and that will just ensure that any of your session or your bookings in your Google Calendar will make sure that those are blocked off in Practice Better so no one can book during those time slots. We've got our Zoom integration, which we did already speak about earlier, our billing and payments on being able to collect payment at time of booking. So again, the options are Stripe and Square. So if you link one of those payment processors, then you can do that right from Practice Better. We also have our supplement dispensaries. So we've got FullScript and Elevate. We have integrations with both. That will be relevant when you're creating protocols for your clients. If you do use and distribute supplements and recommend supplements, then you can integrate with both of those or one of those, and that will allow you to create those recommendations right from Practice Better. So I'm just going to scroll down here. We've also got a Zapier integration, as well as some analytics conversion tracking with Facebook and Google. So that's just a little overview. Again, we're not going to dive super deep into each of those integrations today, but just to give you a little taste of what is available with regards to integrations.
Wonderful. Awesome. Looks like there's some people that are excited about what they saw and the different options available, which is awesome. But we wanted to talk to you next about creating a note template. So kind of switching gears here. But as you work with clients, it's likely that you'll want to compile notes to stay informed and act as a record. So you can start to notice those trends during your time working together. And every practitioner will have their own unique workflow when it comes to how they decide to chart their sessions. But usually this process is necessary when working with clients, but it can also be really cumbersome and time consuming. We know that notes can be a really good benchmark indicator of progress, so it can be important to ensure consistency across the type of information you are charting on and the way that it's formatted so that it's easy to complete in the moment and then refer back to later on. So to ensure that this process is as streamlined and efficient as possible, note templates are a fantastic addition to set up for your Practice Better account and workflow.
Yeah, so I'm right now in the note template section. So how I got there was I went to My Practice, Note Templates, just as a reminder, and I'm going to show you a couple ways that you can set up your own note template. Okay, so using the red fast action button here, there's a couple options. So we can create a note template from scratch, or we can create it using an existing template that we have for you in Practice Better. So let's do this option for purposes of our example today, is create it from an existing template. And the one I want to show is the follow-up session notes. So we've got a couple other templates here, including soap notes, which is a really popular one. Yeah, let's take a look at the follow-up session notes. So we're going to create that note template from an existing template, and that is then, of course, going to show us a populated note template because we did use that existing template. So it's all done for us here. The great thing about using a template when creating these is that you can still go in and totally change, modify, edit anything you want. You can add to it still, but this is going to give you a really nice starting point. Just going to scroll down here so you can sort of see some of the sections, but it's all done for you. So just saving you a ton of time and giving you a starting point that you can really work off of. So that's as simple as that. And then if you are creating it from scratch on your own, then you're going to have all of these different elements of your note template that you can add, like a text box. You can also add some questions for yourself. So let's say you have, some yes or no questions that you want yourself when you're taking notes for your client to be able to quickly say yes or no to, check boxes, multiple choice, and so on. Again, the note template and notes are for purposes of your own self as the practitioner, unless you decide to share a section with a client, which I did see a question about that, which can be done. And a lot of our users really love this because you can easily, let's say we want to share, let's just say the plan section at the end here with the client. We can just simply toggle that on, and that will ensure that only this section is shared with the client. So if we don't want anything shared with the client, we make sure that that is toggled off, but we toggle it on if we want the client to view this section. And this is really nice because basically as soon as we save the note for the client, they'll be sent this section automatically. So you don't have to worry about then, remembering to send them, maybe it was a resource or a recommendation that you just wanted to get out to them right away. You can just quickly type that into the note as you're speaking to them. Make sure that's toggled on to share, you save it, and then that's automatically sent to them right away. So we really love that feature. All right, amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and save that template. And then you can see that this template is now available here for me in my list of note templates. And then I can go ahead and create that for a client anytime. All right. See if there's any questions.
Someone asked regarding sharing notes with other healthcare professionals, so whether that's a doctor or someone of that nature. So that's absolutely a possibility depending on your scope of practice and who you're collaborating on care with. And as Jen shared, that there's certain sections that maybe you'd like to share and others that you would like to keep private. But I would recommend with sharing with other professionals, you can either download a PDF copy. And we do have faxing available on the Practice Better platform as well.
Yeah, and one other thing to mention there too, just on that point, is we do have a team plan. So if you do work regularly with a group of practitioners, you can actually get on the team plan together, and that's going to allow you to really, easily collaborate on clients together. So you can all see the resources that are shared with each client. You can go in and collaborate on their notes or their protocols. You can, work within a chat message with the client together and things like that. So just, if you do get to that stage, or if that is something of interest, that team plan is available as well.
Awesome. All right. So kind of the last section of our demonstration today, we are getting near the end here. So we wanted to, as we kind of leave you today, show you how to add additional clients into your practice. So over time, as your practice grows and it's time to introduce new clients into your practice, we'll show you how you can do that. Clients who are in the system do count towards your overall client total count. So depending on what kind of plan type you're on, this is something to keep in mind. As long as there is a record being stored, they will count towards your overall total, if you're not kind of currently working with them. So as your list grows, you'll kind of find ways to organize them and keep track of who's whose. So Jen is just going to run us through some options here.
Yeah, awesome. So just so you know how I got to this page, this is my all clients page. So I just went to my clients and view all. So that's how I got here. And one thing I want to mention first when we're considering adding clients to the platform, the first thing to mention is that when a client books a service, they'll automatically be added. So they'll automatically have a client record created. So you don't need to do that manually. But if you do want to manually add a client before they book anything, then you can definitely do that. So you can go to the red fast action button here and go add client. There's a couple other options that I did want to just call out on this client page. As you can see, there's a lot of colorful options going on here, and those are called tags. So we talked a little bit about those earlier with regard to the automation. And you can see that a bunch of my clients have various tags here. So the tags, again, are a really nice way to organize your clients and just really keep them within categories. So let's say, for example, you want all of your program participants to be categorized with a tag. Maybe you work with multiple practitioners, and so you want your own clients versus someone else's clients to be differentiated. Maybe you have specific birthdays, birthday months. So maybe you want to tag your clients based on their birth month. And then you can, at the beginning of each month, go in and search that tag and then make sure you can send a message to them. There's so many ways that you could actually utilize the tags feature. And to create a new one, you would just do so right on the left-hand side here under the tags option. And then, when you've added tags to a client, you can go in and you can remove those anytime if you needed to. But this just gives you a really nice sort of quick snapshot into the tags. You can also filter by tags. So let's say we want those March birthdays. Oh, maybe I don't have any. Let's do a different one. The program participants. That's going to filter by just the clients who have that specific tag, allowing us to just have that visibility really easily in sort of managing and working with our clients. All right, wonderful. There's something else. Oh yeah, the other thing I was going to mention is the ability to pin clients. So you may have noticed when I went to my clients, I had a list of clients here. And this is just a way to sort of have a quick ability to get to those clients versus having to go to the client page and look for them. So if there's a group of clients that you're working with most often, you might want to pin them. And how you can do that is just by simply clicking this star icon. So those ones are toggled on, but let's just go back to our full list here. And then I'm going to take that off just so you can see. And then you can see these ones are all toggled off. If we add a new one, then that's going to be automatically added to our pinned list here. So just a nice way to sort of have quick access to those clients who you work with most often versus needing to go to this client page. But you can very easily search for clients using the search bar with their name, their email address, or even their tag. Okay.
One thing that I've seen come up a couple of times is how to invite a client to their client portal. Can we just show once you're in a client record how easy that is to invite a client if you would like to do so later on?
Yeah, Britt, so let me know what you had in mind for that. I'm in Mary Smith's profile here.
Yeah, so if we click the More Options button right underneath their name there to the right, you'll see that you're able to, maybe this is a client that Jen has already invited, but if they weren't invited.
Yeah, let's go to one that's not invited. Yeah, sorry, that's a good call. All right, so Phoebe Buffet, she's not invited.
Oh, sorry.
This one right here.
Yeah, there you go. So you can send an invitation. So this is going to send the client an email with a link to get started with an actual login to their client portal.
Perfect.
And then as one last question before we wrap up today, I saw quite a few questions about how you actually add a tag to a client. So it's very easy when you're looking at your entire client list to actually just click and drop. So you can pull over a tag and associate it with any client that you'd like. So that's one way of doing it. There's kind of a few ways to do so, including various automations that you can set up, but that is one way to very easily do it, is just kind of click the tag that you'd like to associate with the client and just drag it over and hover it over, and it will attach to their profile.
Yeah, so I just did a couple examples while you were talking there, Britt, but definitely using automations is like one of the most efficient ways, I would say, to add tags to clients. So, like we showed with the automatically confirming or adding that client to the client portal, then you could add that tag for, say, new clients. That's a really nice way to do that, because then you don't have to manually do that. You can just, set that up to happen without even thinking about it. So that's definitely a good way to do so.
All right. I think that kind of wraps up our content for today. I know that this has kind of inspired a lot of questions amongst the chat. So I did include a few more resources for everyone, and I'll just put it in the chat one last time here. Jen, you'll just have to allow me to turn my video on.
Yeah.
All right, show my face here. All right, so for everyone who is getting started on the platform, obviously there is a little bit of a learning curve, and there's so much to kind of absorb and take in when you're first getting started, or even if you do need that refresh. So it's always a big goal of ours to support you in every way that we can. So we have a whole library of different help articles where essentially you can search any kind of key term that you're hoping to learn on. So whether that's form mapping, whether that is to learn about different third-party integrations, whatever it may be. We also have a whole library of videos on YouTube. So things that are more feature specific, short duration, long duration, lots of great information on our YouTube channel. And then we do have our customer success team that's always willing to help field any questions regarding kind of optimization of the platform, how you can make certain things happen, troubleshoot kind of idea. So I have just put that into the chat with some links for everybody. As a reminder, we did record this today, so the replay will be sent out to your inboxes and then later housed in YouTube so that you can come back and reference this at any time. We do have that survey for you, so we really love your feedback. We really take it to heart and use it to help inform future topics with our deep dive. So if there's anything that you'd like to continue to learn about, please feel free to share. And as a thank you today, we will be giving you the access code for a check-in form that you can introduce into your practice. So really handy to send out before a follow-up session, that kind of idea. So I'll just put that in the chat, the link to the survey there.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention, once you complete that survey, you'll see a thank you page, and that's where you're going to receive that access code as well as the instructions on how to utilize that free form. Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to follow this link in the chat. It will redirect you when the webinar ends, but that's there for you as well. And thank you for spending some time with us today. We really love connecting with you guys and talking about Practice Better.
Yeah, thank you all so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate your attention today, and we really hope this was helpful, and we're excited to see you back for the next deep dive.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.